Google Glass. Google Glass launched in 2013. Before Google Glass, no mainstream company had tried to sell smart glasses to regular people. The category existed only in enterprise labs and science fiction. Google changed that. The Explorer Edition launched in April 2013 at $1,500, and it arrived with a promise: a tiny prism display above your right eye, hands-free photos and video, real-time translation, navigation without looking down, turn-by-turn directions while you walked. Sounds perfect, right? Not quite. Here's the weird part. Google Glass was technically impressive. The display worked, the camera worked, the translation worked, but the moment you wore it in public, you stopped being a person and became a glass hole. Coffee shops posted no Google Glass signs. The display ran at 640 by 360, roughly equivalent to a 25-inch screen from 8 feet away, meaning it was just large enough to be useful and just small enough to feel like a compromise. The battery lasted maybe a day with light use, and less than that if you use the camera. A single gigabyte of DDR1 cost $100 back in 2001. Google Glass cost $1,500 in 2013, and for that price, you got something that turned ordinary social situations into awkward standoffs. Google pulled the consumer version in 2015. The Enterprise Edition survived, and still does, because it turns out a surgeon or a factory worker doesn't need to worry about looking weird at brunch. Google Glass is like showing up to a house party with a body camera. The technology works, the room empties. Google Glass failed publicly, but it asked the right questions, and the whole industry took notes. Microsoft HoloLens. Microsoft HoloLens launched in 2015. While consumers moved on, enterprises kept buying smart glasses, because in a warehouse or an operating room, smart glasses solved actual problems. HoloLens launched at $3,000, and it arrived with a promise unlike anything before it. Not a notification overlay, not a small prism in your peripheral vision. Actual holographic objects that appeared to exist in the physical world, sitting on your workbench, floating above your operating table, anchored to the wall in front of you. Here's the weird part: it worked. HoloLens used spatial mapping to understand your environment, then placed digital objects that stayed exactly where you put them. You interacted with hand gestures. The system tracked your eyes, fingers, and head simultaneously. The display ran at 1280 by 720 per eye with around a 30-degree field of view. Think of it as looking at a virtual window that's always slightly smaller than you want it to be, but perfectly clear. HoloLens is like a projector that knows where the walls are. It doesn't just display an image, it understands the room and works with it. The weight was 579 grams. That's roughly the weight of a full water bottle strapped to your face. Comfortable for a demo. A chiropractor's dream after an hour. Boeing used it on production floors and reduced assembly errors by 40%. Surgeons used it for pre-op visualization. The enterprise use case was real, measurable, and worth $3,000 per unit. HoloLens proved one thing that nobody had proven before. If smart glasses solve a real problem, people will pay for them. Price isn't the issue. The problem is real. Snapchat Spectacles. Snapchat Spectacles launched in 2016. After Google Glass, the category needed a reset. Snapchat figured out something Google missed entirely. People didn't want a computer on their face. They wanted a reason to wear one. Spectacles did exactly one thing. They captured snaps. No AI, no AR, no notifications. Just a $130 pair of sunglasses with a small camera in the frame and a circular video format built for Snapchat. Here's the dirty secret. Spectacles worked not because of what they could do, but because of how they looked. They were bright yellow. They came out of giant yellow vending machines on Venice Beach. Lines formed around the block. For the first time in the history of this category, people actually wanted to wear smart glasses. A ring of LEDs lit up whenever you were recording, so nobody felt surveilled. The camera shot at 1728 by 1728 pixels with a 105-degree field of view. Snapchat Spectacles are like a disposable camera designed by a streetwear brand. Great at parties, useless by Tuesday. Battery lasted about an hour of continuous recording. They only worked with Snapchat. Once the novelty wore off, there was no daily reason to keep wearing them. The first wave of smart glasses taught the industry three things. People care about privacy. Smart glasses need to look like normal glasses, and they need a reason to be worn every day. But Snapchat had proven something nobody could take back. The style problem was solvable. Ray-Ban Meta. Ray-Ban Meta launched in 2023. 10 years after Google Glass, Meta partnered with EssilorLuxottica, put the hardware in a Wayfarer frame, priced it at $299, and launched the Ray-Ban Meta. No display, no holograms. Just a 12-megapixel wide-angle camera, dual speakers, microphones, and Meta AI built in. Meaning you could ask it questions about what you were looking at, and it answered out loud through the frame. Here's the thing. It looked like Ray-Bans. Because it was Ray-Bans. The battery lasted 5 to 6 hours, with a charging case extending that to 24. Ray-Ban Meta is like a smart speaker you wear on your face. The AI isn't flashy, but it's there when you need it, and it disappears completely when you don't. The catch? The recording LED cannot be turned off. Meta baked that in as a hard design rule, presumably to avoid repeating Google's privacy disaster. Some users covered it with tape. Meta said no. A year after launch, it was the best-selling smart glass in history. The killer app turned out not to be AR or displays or holograms. It was just AI that knew what you were looking at. Ray-Ban Meta is what the entire first decade of this category was trying to build. It just took 10 years, 2 failed companies, and 1 phone company big enough to force the fashion collaboration. Ray-Ban Meta Gen 2. Ray-Ban Meta Gen 2 launched in September 2025. Gen 1 proved the concept. Gen 2 fixed what it missed. The camera jumped from 1080p to 3K Ultra HD with HDR. Battery improved from 5 hours to 8, with the case now holding 48 hours total, a 42% improvement on the most important daily spec. Speakers gained Dolby Atmos. The AI upgraded to Llama 4. Meta opened up 150 frame and lens combinations, including full prescription support. Price? $379 to $499 depending on configuration. Ray-Ban Meta Gen 2 is what Gen 1 should have shipped as. Same frame, same design, meaningfully better at everything that matters for a full day of use. The catch is the same one. The recording LED still cannot be disabled. Users still want the option. Meta still says no. Some things are non-negotiable apparently. You get 3K Ultra HD, which means you could read text in a video or identify a product on a shelf without squinting. 8 hours of battery means you put them on in the morning and don't think about them again until dinner. If you're still deciding whether Gen 1 or Gen 2 is worth the upgrade, comment below. I'm genuinely curious where you're landing on that. Dynasty AI Glasses. Dynasty launched in 2025. Not everyone needed Meta's ecosystem. Dynasty came in at $260, built the frame from titanium, and came in at 35 to 40 grams, lighter than almost anything else in this category, and then did something nobody else had done, gave it a 48-hour battery. The focus is translation. Dynasty supports real-time translation in over 100 languages, records and transcribes meetings, and does all of it without looking like anything other than regular glasses. Dynasty is like a live interpreter that fits on your nose and asks for nothing in return except a charge every 2 days. The catch? No camera quality to speak of, no Dolby audio, no AI assistant beyond the translation core. For a professional who travels, sits in multilingual meetings, or works across language barriers every week, the 48-hour battery and 100 language translation is a daily use case that the Ray-Ban Meta doesn't match. AI made smart glasses useful for the first time. The category split into 2 directions: Meta's generalist AI assistant and specialist tools like Dynasty built for specific jobs. Both are right, they just aren't for the same person. Viture Beast. Viture Beast launched in 2025. While Meta dominated camera glasses, a different category was emerging, one with actual displays. Virtual screens you could wear on your face. Viture Beast costs $549. It has no battery, and that's not a flaw. You plug it into your phone or laptop via USB-C, and it becomes a 174-inch virtual screen. Micro OLED display, 3840 by 1200 resolution, 120 Hz refresh rate, 1000 nits of brightness, 58-degree field of view. That's the widest field of view in any AR display glass currently available. Here's the spec chain. Micro OLED at 1000 nits means bright enough to use in a moderately lit room without losing detail. 3840 by 1200 means the image is sharp enough to read text without leaning forward. 120 Hz means gaming scrolls smoothly without motion blur. Viture Beast is like a private cinema you can fold into a case. The screen fills your vision. The audio is surprisingly good through the built-in speakers, and nobody in the seat next to you can see what you're watching. The catch: no battery, no wireless. You are tethered to your device. There's a USB-C cable dangling from your face, and you will make peace with that or you won't. If you can live with it, the Beast is the best display glass available right now. But Viture wasn't alone in this category, and the competition came in cheaper than anyone expected. Xreal One Pro. Xreal One Pro launched in 2025. Xreal had been building AR display glasses longer than almost anyone. The One Pro at $599 uses a Sony micro OLED panel, a 57-degree field of view, 120 Hz refresh, and 3 millisecond latency, the lowest in the category. Their self-developed Xreal X1 chip handles all visual processing on the glasses themselves, independent of your phone's processor. Here's the spec chain. 3 milliseconds of latency means that when you move your head, the image adjusts before your brain registers the delay. It sounds like a small number. In use, it's the difference between a display that feels real and one that feels like a display. Xreal One Pro is like looking through a window rather than at a screen. The optics are calibrated so the image feels external, like something in front of you, not strapped to your face. The catch? Brightness tops out at 700 nits versus the Beast's 1000. In bright rooms or outdoors, you'll notice. Apparently, Xreal assumed going outside is for poor people. Indoors, the One Pro is exceptional, and the head tracking and stability that the X1 chip enables makes it the best option for productivity work, not just entertainment. Even Reality's G2. Even Reality's G2 launched in 2025. Not everyone wanted a display. Even Reality's G2 made a deliberate choice that separates it from everything else in this category. No camera. $599. Titanium frame, around 50 grams. A micro LED heads-up display at 640 by 200 resolution. Not a cinematic screen, but a subtle information overlay in your upper field of view. Live translation, navigation, teleprompter mode, calendar alerts. Controlled via touch or an optional smart ring called the Even R1. Here's what 640 by 200 actually means in plain language. You're not watching a movie, you're reading a small, bright line of text that floats in your vision while the rest of the world looks completely normal. Nobody looking at you knows the display is on. Even Reality's G2 is like a post-it note that follows your eyes. Useful, unobtrusive, and easy to ignore until you need it. The catch? $599 for that limited feature set is steep. You're paying premium money for a product that does less than everything else in the category on purpose. And the display area is really small. G2 is built for one type of person, a professional who needs ambient data without anyone in the room knowing they're getting it. If that's your use case, it's perfect. For everyone else, there are better options at lower prices. Lucid smart glasses. Lucid launched in 2025. If everything so far has felt like a commitment, Lucid is the reset button. $99 to $179, under 40 grams, built-in speakers and microphone, all-day battery, ChatGPT built-in. Looks like regular glasses, no display, no camera, no AR, just hands-free audio AI, phone calls, and music. Here's the spec that matters, $99. That's cheaper than most prescription frames. Lucid is like a Bluetooth headset that finally learned to stop embarrassing itself in public. The catch? It does less than everything else in this category. If you want video, display, AI vision, or translation, Lucid isn't it. But if you've been curious about smart glasses and weren't ready to spend $300 finding out they're not for you, $99 is where you start. The display revolution split the category clearly. Cinema and gaming for the display glasses, daily AI for the camera glasses, ambient professional data for the no-camera HUD glasses, and a $99 entry point for everyone who just wants to try. But then Meta did something nobody expected. Ray-Ban Meta Display. Ray-Ban Meta Display launched in September 2025. Meta combined the AI camera glasses with an actual display. The result was the most ambitious consumer smart glass ever sold. $799. Same Wayfarer frame as Gen 2, same 12 megapixel camera with 3 times zoom, same same Meta AI, but now with a full-color 600 by 600 display built into the right lens, visible only to you, and a neural band worn on your wrist that reads the electrical signals from your muscles and lets you control the glasses with subtle hand gestures. Here's what that actually means in plain language. You can read a message without taking out your phone, preview a photo before you take it, get real-time captions of a conversation floating in your vision, make video calls, follow step-by-step instructions. All of it private. Nobody around you sees a screen. Ray-Ban Meta Display is like having a co-pilot who whispers everything directly into your eye. The information is there when you need it and gone the moment you don't. Early adopters reported inconsistent brightness in outdoor conditions. First-generation hardware, first-generation limitations, I guess, and $799 is a serious commitment for technology that is, by definition, version 1. But the neural band gesture control works better than it has any right to. Flick a finger to scroll, pinch to select, double tap to activate AI. After a few days, it becomes natural. The most advanced mainstream smart glass ever sold. RayNeo X3 Pro. RayNeo X3 Pro launched in December 2025. Then, RayNeo showed up and raised the ceiling for what a consumer smart glass could even be. $1,299, 76 grams, a full-color dual-eye micro-LED display, a Snapdragon AR1, a dedicated AR processor, not a repurposed phone chip, 4 GB of RAM, 32 GB of onboard storage, a 12-megapixel RGB camera, and a depth camera that maps your environment in real time. Google Gemini as the AI backbone. RayNeo's own spatial OS, a three-dimensional interface you navigate by looking, speaking, or touching the frame. Here's the spec chain. Snapdragon AR1 is purpose-built for AR workloads, meaning the visual processing, spatial mapping, and AI inference all happen on the glasses, not your phone. 4 GB of RAM means it handles multiple apps simultaneously without lag. The depth camera means it doesn't just see what you see, it understands the physical space around you. RayNeo X3 Pro is like a full computer that someone convinced to become a pair of glasses. It runs apps, it understands space, it translates conversations, it navigates. It doesn't need your phone to do any of it. The catch? $1,299 is a corporate purchase price for most consumers, and the RayNeo AR app ecosystem is still early. You're buying into a platform that's proving itself, not one with a decade of developer support behind it. Think of it as paying to be right early. For professionals in fields where spatial computing has clear, measurable value, like engineering, medicine, design, training, it's immediately justifiable. For everyone else, it's a gamble. RayNeo Air 4 Pro. RayNeo Air 4 Pro launched in January 2026. RayNeo entered the display glass category at $299 and immediately made a lot of $549 glasses look expensive. The headline spec? World's first HDR10 in an AR display glass. 1080p resolution, 1200 nits of brightness, 120 Hz, a Bang & Olufsen audio system, AI upscaling from SDR to HDR, and a 201-inch virtual screen. RayNeo Air 4 Pro arrived with a promise: premium display quality at half the price of the competition. Sounds too good, right? Here's the tricky part. The field of view is 47 degrees versus the Beast's 58. You'll notice that difference in gaming. In movies, most people don't. RayNeo Air 4 Pro is like business class at economy prices. Slightly smaller window, nobody's complaining. The price specificity tells the story. The Beast costs $549 and the RayNeo costs $299. If your primary use case is films and streaming, the RayNeo wins on value every time. If you're gaming or want the widest immersive field available, spend the extra $250. But the RayNeo Air 4 Pro proved something important. Display glasses had gotten cheap enough that a mainstream buyer could justify the purchase. That changed everything about who was actually shopping shopping in this category. Now here's the thing, you just learned how smart glasses went from a ceiling-mounted machine in 1968 to a $799 pair of glasses with a private display and gesture control. But the moment you actually try to pick one, a completely different kind of confusion hits. Camera or display? AI or AR? $99 or $1,299? If those sound like a random product list instead of a clear buying decision, you're not alone. And here's what nobody tells you. Buying the wrong type of smart glass for your use case doesn't just waste money. You end up with a $400 piece of hardware in a drawer next to your old Snapchat spectacles. That's exactly what we're covering next. Every smart glass category broken down into one clear recommendation per type of buyer. Which one fits your life at the budget you're actually working with? Click the video on screen right now and I'll see you there.